With the Daredevil Born Again Season 2 finale revealing that Matt Murdock is now in prison, his likelihood of appearing in Spider-Man Brand New Day just skyrocketed. We've also got Bullseye now working for Mr. Charles and Valentina, setting up what I think will be the next R-rated X-Men movie. Plus, we've got old Kingpin over here who has a Vanessa to resurrect. Hey everybody, Colton here, and we need to talk about what is next for Daredevil Born Again. Season 2 was a major step up from the subpar Season 1, and I think I am comfortable in saying that this may be the best season of television that Marvel Studios has ever made on the Disney Plus platform, and I am very excited for the bright future ahead with these characters and their new corner in the MCU and how they will tie into the wider MCU with Spider-Man and the X-Men and all the new stuff to come after Secret Wars. So today's Ask Colton question comes to us from Sebastian. Sebastian writes, Colton, I just watched the Born Again finale and Screen Crush's breakdown, but I find myself wondering what you think is next for these characters moving into Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars. All right. Well, thanks so much for the question. And yes, Ryan and Ethan, they did a great job over on Screen Crush with our Daredevil coverage this season and on their finale breakdown, so be sure to go watch that. Now, as for Doomsday and Secret Wars, Season 3 of Born Again will come out after Doomsday, but before Secret Wars. And I'm thinking that Born Again Season 3 will very likely take place before the events of Doomsday, and maybe even before or happening alongside the events of Spider-Man Brand New Day. And really, I think a lot of what they are setting up in Daredevil Born Again, as well as a lot of what they're doing in Brand New Day and with all these different characters, I think we're going to see that all move forward after Secret Wars in a new MCU in a brand new saga, very likely titled The Mutant Saga. So let's start there with Brand New Day. Daredevil, I think, is 100% in Spider-Man Brand New Day. We've always known it, but now it's even clearer with Matt being in prison at the end of this season. In Spider-Man Brand New Day's trailer, we see Spider-Man fighting the Ninja Clan, known as the Hand, whom we have seen before in the Daredevil series, and they are fighting Spider-Man in a cell block. So I think the Hand are most certainly there for Matt Murdock, now that they know he's Daredevil, and I am guessing Spider-Man has stepped in to protect his former lawyer. Now, we've already seen Matt Murdock pop up in a Spider-Man movie before in No Way Home, and we're seeing the Punisher, who is a character that is very closely tied to Daredevil, especially in the MCU. He's showing up in Brand New Day as a supporting character. And in Brand New Day, we are seeing Sheila Rivera, Mayor Kingpin's former advisor, giving Spider-Man a key to the city. There's a lot of connection between these two shows, and I think there's a lot of connection with what they are setting up for mutants. I think that with Kingpin's anti-vigilante task force now being disbanded, the DODC, that's the Department of Damage Control that we've seen in the Spider-Man films, as well as in Wonder Man, I think we could see the DODC recruit AVTF agents who haven't found themselves in prison, and that they could now be acting as DODC agents. And that brings us to the mutants of it all. We are seeing Marvel use the final pages of this multiverse saga to set up the Mutant Saga, such as Sadie Sink playing Jean Grey and her being a primary character in Brand New Day, and her being pursued by a DODC that is being ran by a very bigoted towards mutants man named William Metzger. The DODC in the MCU has essentially served as a police force for super people. So this anti-vigilante task force that Kingpin assembled, it will have some eager recruits looking for a new job, and I think they will find that in the DODC. And mutants in the MCU, who I think will be popping up more and more, they're on the top of the DODC's list when it comes to capturing them and experimenting on them and even using them as weapons. And that brings me to Valentina Allegra de Fontaine, Mr. Charles, Kingpin, and Bullseye. We know that Valentina wants absolute power. She wants her hand on every lever. The government, the private sector. She wants to control vibranium, I'm sure adamantium, and even super people. She wanted to control the Sentry. She has her secret hitmen like we saw in Thunderbolts. She's now associated with the formation of the new Avengers. And she has her employee, Mr. Charles, who had Luke Cage running missions in foreign countries, and now she has Bullseye, who has replaced him, and who I believe is 100% going to be revealed as a mutant in the MCU, and we know that he is very likely now headed to Asia with Mr. Charles for a new mission. I know it's an unpopular opinion, but I do think we are about to see in the MCU post-Secret Wars with the full introduction of mutants into the MCU, I think it's going to go as follows. Mutants are popping up more and more. Their percentage of the population is growing at an alarming rate that causes a mutant panic that is fueled by media like the Daily Bugle, who is promoting mutants as dangerous, likely in exchange for funding from people like Metzger, Charles, and Valentina. They need to craft a narrative that mutants are dangerous and need to be controlled. So I think we are going to learn, and this is the part that I was saying is unpopular, but hear me out, I think we are going to learn that mutants, one, have always been a thing in the MCU. They were just very rare, and the mutant gene itself had yet to be discovered, and that's why they were just called enhanced individuals. The real reason is they couldn't say mutant or use mutants at the early stages of the MCU.
Suck it, Fox. I'm going to Disneyland. Get fucked!
But now that they can use mutants, we've seen them begin to bring mutants into the MCU, and not even just characters from the comics that are already mutants, but they turned Miss Marvel, who was not a mutant in the comics, into a mutant.
Kamala, there's something different in your genes, like a mutation.
Whatever it is, it's just going to be another label.
And that lends credence to my theory because Miss Marvel, she is a character that, like I said, was an Inhuman, not a mutant in the comics, but she has now been made a mutant for the MCU, and her mutant gene was unlocked by exposure to her cosmic bangles. So I think we're going to learn that characters like Bullseye, who are able to survive getting thrown off the top of a building and can do all that crazy stuff he does when he's throwing knives and shit, I think he's going to be revealed as a mutant, and that his mutant gene was unlocked as a boy through exposure to extreme trauma. I think extreme trauma, like in Deadpool 1, and by the way, side note, in the comics, Deadpool's not a mutant either. Anyway, I think that like in Deadpool 1, we are going to learn that extreme trauma is what can unlock the mutant gene.
In new and different ways, each more painful than the last, until you finally mutate.
Jessica Jones, Daredevil, Spider-Man, I could go on, they were all exposed to physical extreme trauma that could activate a dormant mutant gene and perhaps even influence what power the gene gives them, such as Spider-Man being bitten by a radioactive spider. So it gives him spider powers. Miss Marvel, Captain Marvel, Monica Rambeau, they were all exposed to cosmic energy that gave them all these light-based powers. Daredevil, he was blinded by radioactive chemicals, and so he got super hearing. It's almost as if the mutant gene, when activated by the trauma, adapts to what you need. I think any and all enhanced individuals will be deemed mutants, except maybe with the exception of a super soldier, but even then you could argue that super soldier serum is simply targeting the unlocking of the mutant gene, and it forces the mutant gene to give you a certain power set, that being speed, strength, and agility. The same could be true for the heart-shaped herb with Black Panther. We saw vibranium cause a mutation in Namor in Wakanda Forever, and in the comics, Namor is a mutant. Oh, and of course, there's the Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, who are mutants in the comics, and in the MCU, their powers were unlocked by exposure to an Infinity Stone. Now, as for characters like Bullseye and even Kingpin, who, by the way, Kingpin, we need to remember, he is kind of inhuman, pun fully intended. He has like this super strength. I think that Bullseye and Kingpin, they could both be mutants. Their mutations could have been unlocked and influenced by their immense trauma as children, which they both shared. Kingpin's mutation, I believe, was this rage-filled brute strength that was unlocked when he was witnessing his father beat his mother. Kingpin then mustered the strength that he needed to stand up to his father and have the ability to beat him down and beat him to death with a hammer, and now he can rip car doors off of their hinges.
Don't leave, Eleanor.
Now, as for Bullseye, he was also abused by his father, and when his dad kept making him throw that damn baseball over and over until it was perfect, it's almost as if that trauma unlocked and created a precision-type power. Those could have been the moments when their mutant genes were unlocked through trauma and influenced by that trauma. So yeah, I think that Born Again Season 2 was fucking amazing, and I think it has an even bigger connection to the future of the Mutant Saga than it necessarily does Doomsday and Secret Wars. And I think all of this like Valentina stuff and the Task Force X stuff or X-Force stuff, like with Bullseye, Kingpin becoming like a sympathetic foe for the Young Avengers or another hero besides Daredevil, or hell, maybe even for once, not being a villain. Because at this point, I think it's just getting a little old. If we're going to keep the character around, I think it's time to shake things up a little. He's a character that I think we could find ourselves rooting for if you put him up against an even worse villain, like the literal like fucking devil in Mephisto. So that could be yet another way to connect him like with the Young Avengers and stuff, and or the Champions, and keep him on the small screen because he is a small screen character. And if you want to keep it like connected to the multiverse and maybe tell this story before Secret Wars, you could have Fisk trying to build a time machine like Tony Stark's. Maybe he's trying to steal the blueprints to Tony Stark's time machine, trying to get different scientists to help him build it, and he's just funding the whole thing because he wants to bring Vanessa back or travel to another world to be with her.
How many more worlds do you need to conquer?
How many are there?
I think it's all on the table, and I just really love this season. I'm glad that they brought the Netflix era stuff back into the canon, and established it as canon. And I'm really excited for the future of the MCU on the small screen. And I hope that while yes, the movies and the shows do need to interact some, I want to have the small screen MCU and the big screen MCU kind of operating separately, still very much in the same universe, and having little crossovers here and there that if you're watching both, you recognize, but don't have anything necessarily be required viewing. So that's what I'm excited for. I just wanted to hop on here and share all of that with you guys, what I think could be next for Born Again. I'm actually working on a video for Screen Crush that will go into a little bit more detail, have some fun with that. But yeah, those are my thoughts. Let me know yours down in the comments below. If you're new here, be sure to subscribe, hit the bell so you get notified every time I upload a new video. I've been Colton Ogburn, and I'll see you next time. Bye!